years. So especially the first half in this game was unlike anything I've ever seen. It was an insanely rough start for both of these teams offensively. The Thunder started out 2 for 9. Nuggets started out shooting 1 of 7. In fact, by the end of the first quarter, everybody, the Nuggets made 2 field goals. In the first quarter, they were 2 of 22 and were down 17-8. Not by the first timeout. Not by the second timeout. That was the score at the end of the first quarter. 17-8. The Nuggets shot 0 of 14 from 3. By the way, the Thunder didn't shoot all that much better in that first quarter. They were 6 for 22 and just 1 of 11 from 3. So it was one of the weirdest first halves in a basketball game that I've ever witnessed. So into the second quarter we go, and the shooting struggles continued. They were, with 5:41 to go in the second quarter, the Nuggets and the Thunder were a combined 1 for 32 from 3. Finally, Russell Westbrook hit a 3, the first of the game for the Nuggets, with 4 minutes to go in that second quarter. It was a 42-36 lead at halftime for OKC. Now, in the third quarter, we started to get actual basketball back in our lives. Real basketball was played here in the third quarter at Ball Arena. The Nuggets shots that weren't falling in the first half started to fall, and you could tell the Nuggets started getting momentum in this game. I mean, Aaron Gordon hits a 3 that gave the Nuggets their first lead of this game at 53-52 with about 6.5 minutes to go there in the third quarter. And the Nuggets actually shot 7 of 11 from 3 in that third quarter. In fact, it's why they ended up taking a 69-63 lead heading into the fourth quarter. They finally were able to find their shooting stroke. Now, I will say this. The Thunder blew Game 3 because Nikola Jokic, if you remember, had probably his worst playoff performance of his career in Game 3. He was 0 for 10 from beyond the arc in that game, and the Thunder still lost. So that's a game I look at and say, wow, that is a massive loss for the Thunder, where they can't pull out a victory in a game where Nikola Jokic had probably his worst playoff game of his career. Well, that leads to today's game, and this is a game that the Nuggets gave away. You're up 69-63 heading into the fourth quarter. I've talked about this many times on this program. Within this series, in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter in a tight game, I'm taking the Nuggets 9 times out of 10. Well, tonight was the one, because Oklahoma City was able to execute down the stretch, and the Denver Nuggets were not able to. So that was the biggest surprise to me in this game, was the young and experienced Oklahoma City Thunder were able to execute down the stretch, and the Nuggets just went back to cold in that fourth quarter. The first and the fourth quarter really hurt the Denver Nuggets in this basketball game. The quarters 2 and 3, especially the third quarter, were okay. They at least got some offensive production going in that second quarter, but the third quarter, the Nuggets were on fire. Like I said, they were 7 of 11 from 3 in that quarter. But this was, Adelman said it after the game, this was just a disgusting basketball game. Really weird. And look, I get and understand why a lot of fans are frustrated with the scheduling the NBA has put in this series. Totally get it. It's ridiculous. Okay, they have 36 hours. After starting at tip-off was 8:25 local time 2 nights ago on Friday night. The game ended past 11 o'clock at night. It went to overtime, by the way. The league turns around and schedules this game for a 1:30 local time start. Just 36 hours of rest. Clearly, this was not like, hey, Oklahoma City was struggling in that first quarter, or the Nuggets were just struggling, couldn't make shots in that first quarter. Both teams came out in Game 4 entirely flat, couldn't hit a shot. So this was clearly due to the schedule. I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but it wasn't like it was just the Nuggets or just the Thunder. Like I said, both of these teams were really struggling to put the ball through the basket early on in this basketball game. Tired legs, the energy just wasn't there for either team in the first half of this game. Like I said, it started to pick up in the second half, and it started to look like real basketball. But this was a huge blown opportunity for the Nuggets to go up 3-1 in a game that they should have won. They were lucky to win Game 1. They had to have about 6 things go right for them in order for them to win that game. Well, they did. So they get the win. They get blown out in Game 2. Okay, back here in Denver, the Nuggets probably should have lost Game 3, if I'm being honest. Like I said, when Nikola Jokic has the Game 3 that he had, quite honestly, it's insane that the Thunder didn't win that game. And today, the Nuggets lost a game in which they should have absolutely won. And it just comes down to execution at the end of the game. The Nuggets got super hot in that third quarter, and then they cooled right off in that fourth and just couldn't seem to get it going. So, look, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom here. I mean, this is a tie series. It's the best of 3. OKC does have home court advantage back, but the Nuggets are still in this thing. I mean, they've got a shot. They've shown they can win in OKC. They won in Game 1, but Game 5 is going to be extremely crucial for the Nuggets. If they don't win Game 5, it's going to be extraordinarily tough for this team to claw their way back into this thing. But we'll see what happens. Look, my whole thing, this whole series has been anytime you have Nikola Jokic, you have a chance. So, tough loss for the Nuggets. If you want to weigh in, the Champ Mazda text line is 303-504-0925 if you want to weigh in on today's game. Just one of the oddest, like I said, oddest basketball games I have ever seen in my life. We'll hear some post-game stuff, too. We'll hear a little bit from David Adelman. We'll see who else is talking down in the locker room. Michael Porter Jr., it just is what it is with him right now. We see him go off in Game 3. He was 5 of 6 from beyond the arc in that game, and he struggled in today's game, 1 of 7 shooting from the field, 0 of 5 from 3, and just 3 points. So it's really been peaks and valleys with Michael Porter Jr. If Mike hits 1 or 2 threes in this game, the Nuggets probably pull it out. But they're going to keep riding with them, Joker shot 7 of 22. Jamal shot 5 of 15. I mean, Aaron Gordon was their best shooter, 5 of 10. Russ shot 2 of 12 off the bench, 2 of 9 from 3. The Nuggets only got 8 points from their bench. And OKC, I mean, they had 3 players on their bench in double figures. Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, and Alex Caruso, 11, 11, and 10. So the Nuggets get 8 points total off their bench. We did see Julian Strawther get some first quarter minutes in today's game. I felt like that was just Adelman trying to get something going because we saw Julian in the first quarter. And, I think Adelman's thinking there was, well, let's just see if we can get Julian in, who's a good perimeter shooter, see if he can knock something down. He didn't end up taking a shot. And actually, after the game, Adelman talked about, he's considering going deeper than 8 in his rotation. Is that something he needs to consider? The problem for Denver is, who's it going to be? It's not going to be Dario Saric. It's probably not going to be Vlatko Čančar. We might see DJ get in. He could be an option to spell Nikola Jokic. Or are we going to see Jalen Pickett at some point in this series? Now, I don't think they should go deeper than 8. Okay, because I just don't think they have the production on that area of the bench to make it worth it. But we'll see what David Adelman decides to do. Once again, the Champ Mazda text line, One price, one person, 1 hour, 303-504-0925 if you want to weigh in on today's game. We'll take some phone calls, too, if you want to call in and give me your thoughts on one of the ugliest basketball games I've ever seen in my life. It did pick up in the second half, like I said, but, man, this was just such an odd game today. And the league is just – I don't understand their thinking behind that. You've got the Pacers and Cavs starting this evening. It would have been really easy to just flip those games, in my opinion, because they were the early game on Friday night and the Nuggets Thunder were the late game. So it just doesn't make sense to me. But, look, both teams had the same amount of rest in between these games. So I don't want to just use that as an excuse. It's just puzzling to me, the league scheduling as far as these playoffs go. So tough loss for the Nuggets. Series is tied 2-2, and we'll see what they've got in store coming up for game number 5. Reminder to lock in your 4-game pick'em plan for the 2025-26 season starting at just $100. Choose your games and seats once the schedule drops in August. Save on fees and get 2025 playoff priority access. Secure your plan today and don't miss the biggest moments at Ball Arena. Visit nuggets.com/pick'em to purchase. We will continue with In the Paint after a quick timeout right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. 92-87 is your final here at Ball Arena. The Thunder get the Game 4 victory over the Denver Nuggets to tie this thing up at 2 games apiece. Got a few texts I want to react to here in just a second, but I just got to say, I am seeing a lot of people on Twitter and on the text line, on our YouTube chat, just saying this series is over. People are saying this was the one. It's done. This thing is not over, folks. It's 2-2. I get it. Look, I said this in the first segment. The Nuggets blew this basketball game, okay? They should have won this game. They were up 69-63 heading into the fourth quarter. With this veteran team against an inexperienced Oklahoma City Thunder team, you take that situation, okay? You're up 6 going into the fourth. The Nuggets just got out-executed, surprisingly, in that fourth quarter and down the stretch in this basketball game. But like I said, look, Nikola Jokic has had back-to-back very pedestrian games for him. I mean, he had a triple-double, 27 points, 13 rebounds, or excuse me, not a triple-double, a double-double, and 3 assists, 4 steals. He only turned it over twice. So, look, it was a better performance than he had in Game 3, but the shooting efficiency is what's really striking right now with Nikola Jokic. But my whole point here is reason for optimism. Watching Nikola Jokic covering this team in the Jokic era the last decade, I find it very hard to believe that Nikola Jokic is going to just be this, what we've seen in the last 2 games for the rest of this series. I find it very hard to believe that that is going to happen. I find it very hard to believe that we're not going to see a playoff Jamal type of performance in one of these upcoming games for the rest of this series. Okay, so I don't want to hear this thing is over. It's not over. I get fans' frustrations after today's game because it is my take, in my opinion, that they should have won this game and they blew it down the stretch. So I get it. But to say this thing is over is a little premature, a little overreactionary. So everybody just calm down, okay? It's the best of 3. Each team got a win on the other's home court, and we've got 3 games to decide who's going to the Western Conference Finals. But they're going to have to get more out of MPJ, no doubt about it. 1 of 7, like I said, just it's one of those things where, look, I get the conundrum, if you will, that David Adelman is in right now, because how do you sit Michael Porter Jr. after Game 3? After what we saw he is capable of doing. I mean, he's had stinkers in the playoffs, in these playoffs so far, but then he's found a way to come back and produce for this team. So we'll see what happens in Game 5. But you can't have MPJ going 1 for 7, 0 of 5 from 3 with 3 points and expect to win the game. Weirdly enough, for as bad as Michael's shooting night was, he was a plus 15. How about that? I mean, that's just, it's insane. Russell Westbrook was a minus 20 in this game. Minus 20. Didn't shoot the ball well. I thought Russ actually was tenacious on the defensive end, though. He did impact the game in that way. He had that one-on-one defensive possession against Shea, and he was all over him. In fact, CB came over and they put the double on SGA, and they get a tie ball, jump ball. And that was right after Russ had hit a 3. So that was a moment in the game where I'm like, man, the Nuggets smell blood in the water. And they had all of the momentum going. But the Nuggets did miss some crucial free throws down the stretch as well. Joker missed 2. Aaron missed 1. And when you're missing free throws in this kind of a game down the stretch, it's going to be really, really difficult to pull out the victory. So, I'm still optimistic for the Nuggets, but they're going to have to get better performances from Michael. They're going to have to get better performances from Nikola Jokic, and they're going to have to get better performances from Jamal Murray as well. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind, DMAC tweeted out Christian Braun's post-game presser. So just look on his Twitter, and we'll get to that as soon as Jordan's able to pull that up just here. Oh, you got it, Jordan? Oh, look at that. Jordan back at the shop. She is on it. Okay, let's go ahead and hear from Christian, who played 44 minutes tonight, 4 of 11 shooting from the field, 2 of 9 from 3, 17 points, 4 CB. Here he is after the Nuggets lost to the Thunder.
Didn't go down, and I think obviously that's a big part of the game. Our big moment in the game, we just didn't play well offensively. Thought our defensive energy was great, though, even though we were missing shots. So just got to keep that up.
Christian, despite the rough start, you guys are up 8 at one point before it gets away. Do you feel like that was just, did you guys run out of physical energy, or was there like a sigh of relief, like we survived the rough start, we're up 8 and we're...
Neither. We just didn't make enough plays. I think that we had the physical energy. We put ourselves in a really good spot, I think, and battled back, like you said. Played well defensively all game. Just didn't hit enough shots. Got a little careless with the ball, I think, late. But we'll be better next game, and we'll be ready.
Christian, walk me through the 5-second call there. What happened?
It's my fault. I got the ball. So I got to get guys in their spots, or at least not take the ball out until guys get in their spots. And we got to be better at that point. It's a big point in the game. I think it was a 3-point game at the time, and then we give the ball back to them. So big moment, and I got to do a better job of getting the guys where they're supposed to be.
CB, I know you said you guys generated good shots, but you guys seem to shoot less in the paint today than kind of your normal. Does there need to be a refocus on just getting back into the paint for Game 5?
Well, I mean, we always have that focus. I think that we always do a good job of getting good shots in the paint, getting enough shots in the paint, but we shot a lot of really, really good shots, open shots that we will hit next game, and we just got to hit them. That's all it was. We took a lot of really good shots, especially in the first half, and they just didn't go down, but that's okay. We'll be ready for next game.
Christian, it feels like throughout these entire playoffs, the momentum has swung so far left, so far right for you guys throughout the entire time. Just what has given you the ability, what has given this team the ability to kind of stay the course?
I think we've seen so much. We've been through so much together. Especially those 4 guys and all the coaches, they've been through so many, series, and they've been to the top. They've won it. They've missed the play. They've done everything. So I think that we'll be ready and we'll stay together. And just the most important thing on our mind is, next game. So we got to be better for Game 5, and we got to go to Oklahoma, and we got to get one.
Christian, you guys already been through a 7-game gauntlet. There's a 36-hour, turnaround from 3 to 4. Is it tough, just playing a team like Oklahoma City in this particular type of game that can throw, 9, 10 bodies, fresh legs out there at a time against you guys?
I mean, yeah, they're a good team. They're deep, and that's just who they are. They throw a lot of different guys at you, and I think their bench today maybe was the biggest part of the game. They came in and hit a lot of really tough shots, really big shots. Timely shots, especially late in the second half, and those guys, I think, put them over the top tonight. But it doesn't matter. We got enough energy. We work hard enough to put ourselves in a good spot. And like I said, we were right where we wanted to be. We just didn't make enough plays, and I think I got to get us organized better on both ends in the second half, especially when we did get that lead coming out of the timeouts. I got to make sure we're, in our spots and we're ready to play. So we'll be ready.
Christian, what's just been the emphasis throughout this series in terms of the spacing around Nikola and trying to make things as easy for him to operate with the crowds that they're showing him?
Same as always. I think they're doing a really good job. They've got a lot of really good defenders that they're putting on him, but same spacing as always, just depending on what they throw at us. We've kind of seen a lot of different things thrown at him. He's seen every coverage, so same things we've always done. We just got to convert, I think, and we got to execute better.
All right, there is Christian Braun post-game. Yeah, he was asked about that 5-second violation. That was a killer for Denver. That was a moment in this game where it looked like they lost a little bit of their focus, a little bit of their composure. I mean, that was out of a timeout. Those are just mental errors that you cannot have late on in basketball games and expect to pull it out. So, look, CB said it there, he's right. They were getting open looks in this game. I didn't think the Nuggets' shot selection was bad in this game. They just couldn't hit anything, especially early on in the game. Now, neither team could, but again, the shot selection I'm fine with. They just couldn't execute it. Now, here's the problem. The Thunder are packing the painted area like to the extreme, okay? I thought the Nuggets were aggressive in attacking the basket in the second especially, but like, look, they're still going to have to hit these jump shots because of the way that the Thunder have decided to just shrink down into the painted area. If that's what they're going to do, and trust me, we're going to see that in Game 5 because it was effective here in Game 4. If that's what they're going to do, the Nuggets are going to have to hit some of their outside shots, especially early on in the game. I mean, you're wondering why Nikola Jokic is missing shots down in the painted area that we're accustomed to him making. It's because the Thunder are throwing basically everybody down there and packing the painted area and forcing the Nuggets to shoot from the outside. So that's going to be key in game number 5. The Nuggets have to get shots going from the perimeter early on in that basketball game in order to get those defenders out of the painted area so that Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon can go to work down low. That's what was missing in this basketball game. So it's so true. It's so cliche, but it's very true. This is genuinely a make-or-miss league in the NBA. And if you're not making shots, it's going to be really, really, really tough for these teams to win. Now, luckily for the Nuggets, the reason they were able to stay in this game and eventually take the lead in the third quarter was because the Thunder were shooting pretty much just as bad from the field. It was just neither team could really shoot the ball well this afternoon here at Ball Arena, and it made for an incredibly ugly basketball game. All right, become a 2025-26 Nugget season ticket member and enjoy exclusive benefits like playoff presale access. Lock in your seats today and experience every moment of Mile High basketball. Visit nuggets.com to purchase. What to expect in game number 5. Give you a little preview there. Who needs to step up, and are the Nuggets going to go more than 8 players deep in their rotation coming up in game 5? David Adelman hinted that they may do that. Should he? We'll answer that question next. Yeah, this is In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Nuggets fall to the Thunder in Game 4. 92-87 is your final. From the Schott Mazda text line, 303-504-0925 from the 233. They say missed opportunity here to be up 3-1, better free throw shooting, and just overall better offense and smarter offense. Jokic shooting outside way too much. He's unstoppable on the inside. Look, I get it. I want to see Nikola Jokic dominate in the painted area as well, but like I said in the last segment, the Thunder's game plan clearly is to pack the painted area and not allow Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon to go to work on that part of the floor. That's what their game plan is. Look, there's a reason Nikola Jokic and just the team overall are shooting so many threes. The Thunder are forcing them to do that. I mean, the Nuggets were they shot the least amount of threes in the entire NBA in the regular season. Okay? They took 45 threes. I believe they averaged right around 30 in the regular season, somewhere around that marker. So this isn't just the Nuggets deciding, hey, let's shoot a bunch of threes or jack up a bunch of threes and see if they go in. This was the Thunder's game plan. They want the Nuggets shooting threes. They know that the Nuggets don't prefer to play their offensive style by shooting a bunch of threes. They want to get the mid-range and the painted area going. And the Thunder, to their credit, they are not allowing the Nuggets to do that right now. So I get the frustration. But like I said, there is a reason that this team is shooting so many three-pointers. I mean, Joker took 10 in Game 3, and he took 8 today. And that's just not typically what you see from this Denver Nuggets offense. I mean, Aaron Gordon took 7 threes. MPJ took 5. Jamal took 5. Christian Braun took 9. Russell Westbrook took 9. Heck, 2 of 3 of Peyton Watson's field goal attempts were from 3. So this is what the Thunder are trying to do. And this is why it is absolutely crucial in game number 5 for the Nuggets to hit some of their outside shots early on in that game to see if they can try and spread that Thunder defense out from the painted area a little bit so that Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon specifically are able to go to work down low. So we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and hear from the Nuggets interim head coach, David Adelman. I'm curious to hear his thoughts on he did say in this presser that he's considering going deeper than an 8-man rotation for game number 5. Here is DA.
David, you mentioned the energy and the effort in the third quarter, started the fourth growing it to 8. Why wasn't that able to be sustained in the fourth quarter and down the end?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you can't make a shot, at some point it's going to affect you. I could not believe the guys throughout the first half when nothing's going good for you offensively, how it never affected the energy on the other end. And when you do that, you stay in the game. And I'm sure that wasn't the most fun game to watch in the first half at all, but we were just trying to stay in the game, and we did. And then to make that run in the third quarter with defensive energy and collapsing and just flying around, winning the defensive rebound, the 50-50, it gave us a chance, and we saw a couple shots go in finally. I think it loosened up the guys a little bit offensively during that stanza. But all the stuff we talk about, it's tough. I'm putting them in a zone. I mean, they had 15 offensive rebounds. We got to do our best to keep them off the glass, but I was really proud of the effort, and we just didn't play well enough to win.
Coach, then do you think this is simply the result of this game is because of poor scheduling by the NBA?
No, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to say that. I will say that I think both teams were very tired coming off an unbelievably physical overtime battle on a late Friday night. So if it affected us, it surely affected them as well. I mean, both of us had super tired legs. So it was about who's going to make that final run. And when we got up 8, I thought we were making the push. And to their credit, they were the ones to make the final run. And we made mistakes late. You can call them mental mistakes, physical, whatever it was. We didn't play well enough the last 6 minutes to win a playoff game.
David, I think back to the beginning of the game, a couple of the shots that you guys missed that set the tone for it were pretty good looks.
Yeah.
How do you kind of evaluate the overall shot quality throughout the day on those threes that you were getting?
Right. I mean, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth, right? I mean, if we're creating wide open corner threes, those are good shots. If I'm telling guys to drive back into Chet, I don't think that's the best answer. So if we execute, there was one play in particular I thought really summed it up. I mean, we ran a split game, a high split game, got a really good cut on the rim by, I believe it was Aaron. Michael's in the corner. He shoots a three right in front of our bench. That's a great shot. And I think that's what we have to rely on. But the difference is you can't get impatient with the missed shots because then you're playing too much isolation basketball, too much only pick and roll, and that wears down your best players. So we've got to maintain staying in the elbows, a split game, and living with the really good shots behind that through ball movement. And that will sustain your energy late in games as opposed to, I thought tonight, we got worn down a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Coach, Nikola almost seems as locked in on some of the fouls, the back and forth kind of between these two teams and just whether he's getting it, whether he's not getting it. How do you keep him locked in on just making sure to get the ball in the basket?
Right. I mean, I know there's frustration there, when he's in drop coverage and somebody drives him and they make contact and that's a call. And here's a center that's obviously a bigger man feeling like the same contact is occurring in the paint. But Nicole will figure that out. He watched the film just like we do as coaching staff. We'll talk about finishing around the rim, playing through the contact. Like I said, 10 for 25 is not going to cut it around the basket because you have to complement the three-point line with some paint points. And, only 7 fast break points for us, 1 for 4 in those opportunities. Not sure how we get to 7 with 1. But we just feel like everything we did tonight was just not efficient enough. Second chance, we're 3 for 11 in those situations. Like everything that we did with effort, we just didn't get the result behind it.
What was your view on what happened on the 5-second call? Mental fatigue, physical fatigue, element of surprise? What was it?
No, it wasn't. I mean, we knew Caruso was going to pick up. I don't know if Mike wasn't attentive to the play. He was the next man that was supposed to flash. I didn't want Aaron down there. Aaron was part of the ATO, and it's one of those things when you take the ball out of bounds, you don't want somebody to have to take the ball out, run to a spot, be part of the execution. So we just got to be more aware, and we've had press break all year long. We haven't had issues with that, but you're so right. You can't have a mental mistake like that with 4.5 to go, and I'll take the hit. If I come out and have a timeout, maybe I have to set up a press break alignment first to get into into our execution on the other end because that cannot happen. That's inexcusable, and people could say it's a tired mistake. That's not. That's an execution mistake, and that's on me. It's something I have to clean up, obviously, in the off day tomorrow.
The zone was strong, super strong in the first half, and then they hit some threes in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
How do you kind of evaluate that? Are those just kind of the type of shots that scheme is going to give up, or are there things you guys need to clean up with that, especially at the end of games?
Yeah, they made above the break threes too, and these are shots that you don't necessarily want to give up, but you don't want to give up corner threes to get in a zone. So we had the desired effect. I thought as the game went on, the contests were later and later, and that's an energy thing, obviously. They changed their alignment on the backside, which was effective, so we can watch the tape and be better at that. But just the activity to go contest these guys, and I'm going to say it again, these games are so tight, so physical. It's small things that matter. And again, I give their bench a ton of credit. 8 threes made in a game like that. 8 of their 10 threes are guys off their bench. So, yeah, we took away the paint like we wanted to. We showed Shea and Jalen a lot of looks. I thought we did a pretty good job on those guys. But you give their team credit in a really disgusting basketball game. Those guys made plays and enough plays, to push them over the edge to win the game.
Coach, because you don't get this experience during the regular season, that 36-hour window, did you do anything to kind of make sure the guys were as rested as possible? And what do you do going forward with only a day off?
Yeah, the good thing is at least this next game, we have all tonight, all tomorrow, and then, Game 5 is another late night Central Time game, so we'll probably tip at 8:50. So at least this one is legit rest. It was almost impossible, this situation. You just don't do anything. You stay off your feet. It's all mental reps. The only time we had them on their feet was a very general walkthrough on the court of a possible adjustment. We ran a different kind of zone to start the game, a few things offensively, to get better at, and then you're just off your feet. It's really your only choice. You send them film at night that they can watch while they're just hanging out at their house. But yeah, it's a challenge, but like I said, same challenge for them. I'm sure they hung out at their hotel, stayed off their feet as best they could, knowing that their early start was going to be a challenge. So give them credit, man. That was a mentally tough win. We all were dealing with the same situation, and they came out on top.
David, you've touched on it a couple of times, but their bench outscoring you guys. So much has been made about how deep this roster is. How do you try and counter that?
Well, we just have to get more from more people, and I have to, maybe play more than 8 guys. I felt like it was, once we pushed it to 8, I really stayed with a shorter rotation thinking that we had a chance to kind of push that thing, and take control of the game because both teams were so exhausted at that point. And then, like I said, they made shots, and then once they got the game back to a balanced place where it was a 1-point game or tied, it's hard to, to stay in a rotation after that. And he stuck to his guys late as well. So just got to give credit to Alex Caruso, man, Aaron Wiggins, and Kason. Like, they made big plays, and like I said, in a game where it kind of was a role-player game. No one is that efficient outside of those guys. And like I said, super proud of our effort. Just have to play better if we're going to win 2 more in this series.
Okay, there is David Adelman. Yeah, that's the cut. I really was interested in hearing again there from DA. Are they going to go deeper than 8 in game number 5? Now, the problem for the Nuggets is their bench just isn't very good. And I hate to say it that way, but it's just true. So they go with Julian Strawther, Russell Westbrook, and Peyton Watson. Well, if you're going to go deeper than 8, Coach, who's it going to be? Could we see DJ get in to spell time for Nikola Jokic? Especially when, like, Hartenstein or Chet Holmgren are out there when Joker's off the floor. I wouldn't be shocked to see DeAndre Jordan. But the Nuggets need shooting off their bench. They desperately need shooting. So we saw him get in the game today. Julian Strawther, will his role be expanded coming up in game 5? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be really tough to bring in a guy like Julian Strawther, who missed a month down the stretch of this season and has hardly played in these playoffs. Do you go with a guy like Jalen Pickett, who's hardly played in this postseason and doesn't have much postseason experience at all? And I just think it's going to be really tough for DA to bring in somebody cold off the bench, meaning cold as they haven't really played in this series or in these playoffs a whole lot. So I don't think they need to go deeper than 8, quite honestly. They just need their guys who are in there to make their shots. That's it. If they can do that, if Michael can avoid going 1 of 7 from the field and 0 of 5 from 3, the Nuggets probably win this game. Now, I said this after game 2, and I'm going to say it again today. I think Michael Porter Jr. should be closely watched by the coaching staff for the start of game 5. What we saw in game 3 is his shot was falling early, and DA kept him in. Great. But after game 2, I said, if Michael's struggling shooting the basketball early on in games, I would really have to consider putting a guy like Julian Strawther in there for him if he's going to struggle to this degree that he did today. But it's such a weird scenario, and I actually feel for David Adelman because, like I said earlier, we've seen Michael Porter Jr. have some really bad shooting games throughout this postseason run. But then the next game, he turns it around, and like we saw in game number 3, he shoots 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. So you just don't really know on any given game what you're going to get from Michael Porter Jr. But that's why I'm saying, early on in games, if he's struggling shooting the basketball, I do think that Adelman should at least give Strawther or Pickett or somebody, a shooter off the bench, at least a look. And if they don't look good, then bring Michael back in, okay? That's all I'm saying. So it's going to be interesting to see what David Adelman does as far as the rotation goes coming up in Game 5. All right, last thing before we get out of here, Vic Lombardi in the media caught up with Aaron Gordon in the Nuggets locker room after their loss to the Thunder.
And that's what we got to do. We got to dig deep now. And I'm fully, I'm sure, I'm confident that we're capable of that.
Knowing you've won there before, how much confidence does that give you?
I just have confidence in this team, regardless of what arena that we're playing and regardless of the circumstances.
Joker's obviously probably the most efficient superstar in the league, if not league history. This 3-game stretch, are there things you guys can do to help him or is it just a matter of like shots he usually hits not falling? What are you seeing?
Well, they're loading up on him. They're doubling him and tilting him, taking me away in the dunker. So we just got to be ready to make shots. He's going to make the right play over and over and over again. And so what's going to help him is when we do make shots and we space the floor for him. Yeah.
So is that what this series comes down to, making shots?
And defense.
Yeah.
You guys have done a great job keeping Shea out of the paint. Last 4.5 minutes or so, he was able to get in there a couple times. Jacob was able to get early. What happened down the stretch there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to look at the film. But, I mean, they're slippery dudes, especially Shea. And J-Dub is a hard driver. So, I mean, we got to just do a better job loading up, keeping them out of the paint, continuing to make them shoot from the outside.
All right, there is Aaron Gordon in the locker room. Yeah, look, AG said it as well. Like I mentioned earlier, they are loading up on Nikola Jokic in the painted area. They're denying Aaron Gordon from being effective in the dunker spot where he's been so effective with he and Nikola Jokic throughout his tenure here in Denver. And he said it right there. I mean, it's obvious. Like, this isn't rocket science, okay? I'm not a basketball genius by any means, but the Nuggets have to hit their outside shots in order for Joker and Aaron Gordon to be freed up even just a little bit in the painted area to try and do some damage on that part of the basketball floor. And if they're not going to be able to hit their outside shots in Game 5, specifically early on, we're going to see the same sort of slugfest that we saw here in Game 4. So he also said defense in there, making shots and defense. Look, the Nuggets' defense over the last 2 games has been pretty freaking good, quite honestly. I mean, their defense has been plenty good enough for them to win these basketball games. They just haven't been able to knock down their shots. And it really, really does just come down to that. It really is that simple. Can this team knock down their outside shots at a decently consistent clip? They don't have to shoot a super high percentage from outside, but they can't go 0 for 16 from 3 to start a basketball game and expect the painted area to then be freed up. So that's what I'm looking forward to in game number 5 and pivotal game 5 for the Denver Nuggets. Whoever wins that game is going to have an extremely good chance of pulling out this series and advancing to the Western Conference Finals. All right, that's going to do it for the post-game show. Actually, you know what? No, we're not done yet. DMAC just pulled up here. We'll get DMAC's thoughts here for a couple minutes, and then we'll get out of here. So, Jordan, if you could fade the music for me, that'd be great. We'll get DMAC's thoughts here. He's pulling up. He's panting. He's breathing. How is that? How is that, D? You good?
How am I? I think I need I don't know. You tell me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right, you hear me, that's good.
Okay, so I was just talking about how the Thunder clearly, DMAC, have a plan in this series to muck it up in the painted area. They are they have collapsed everybody. So for Game 5 specifically, the Nuggets have to hit some outside shots in order to try and clear up the painted area just a little bit because they're denying Gordon and Nikola Jokic from doing what they do best. And tonight, what a weird game. Let's just start with that. What a weird basketball game today.
And was it short rest the problem? Oh, my mic's not on. There you go. We got that. There you go. There you go. I think it's on. Oh, we got a lousy wire. All right.
I think you're on.
Nah, it's the wire. It's that stupid wire. You got to jiggle it in the back. Oh, and that's good. So right there. Maybe you just got to hold
I'm
it.
just going to hold
it. The big debate to me is, did the short rest matter or not? So Adelman implied that it did. Jokic said it didn't. Christian Braun said it didn't. Aaron Gordon said it did. So did it matter or not? So you say, oh, they got to hit shots and whatever. It's like, sure, yeah, okay, of course. But there's no depth on this Nuggets team.
Right.
And Adelman said afterwards, well, I got to do a better job of this. Yeah, this is like a broken record with the Nuggets over the years. Look what they did. 8 of the 10 threes for the Thunder were off the bench. And look what, Dagnall can do. He can use a variety of different guys, and he used 5 guys off the bench. I mean, of course, the short rest impacted the Nuggets, Dan, more so than the Thunder. And before the game, Dagnall said, Adelman said, my guys watch different shows on Netflix than those guys, implying there's some sort of age difference. So there's a little bit of a defeatist attitude coming into this, Dan, from the jump, and that first quarter was abysmal. I mean, however, loss in the horrible shooting of the Nuggets was a pretty good defensive effort that Jokic just pointed out. He just said it. He said, well, we kept them to 92 points. So they were shooting horribly, but they were actually playing pretty tough defense. And now, who knows, man, right? Like, who can tell what will happen? Adelman did point out that there is a lot more rest theoretically because the next tip will be Tuesday at like 8:50.
Yeah.
And we're done now. You can still have a late brunch with Mom, I suppose, if you wanted to. So, that benefits the Nuggets. But the problems with the bench for the Nuggets rear their ugly head in a really weird scheduling move by the NBA. Really, really strange move.
Right, they had the Pacers and Cavs as the first game on Friday, and then they had the Nuggets and Thunder as the late game on Friday evening. It just, I for the life of me cannot understand why they wouldn't have had the Pacers Cavs be the first game today, and then Nuggets and Thunder tonight.
It makes
no
sense.
Zero sense whatsoever.
And I said, hey, there you go, TV. You got what you were asking for in that first quarter. And then it got real competitive. It became a real NBA game later on. But the fourth quarter, the Nuggets were just out of steam. And where do you lose steam? You lose steam on your jump shots, on your effort, on points in the paint were terrible today, Dan.
What were they? I haven't even looked at that.
Points in the paint. Nuggets 20 points in the paint, and the Thunder 30. 20 points in the paint by the Nuggets. They couldn't finish at the rim. Joker at least hit a couple of threes, which was better. But, he didn't look like himself.
No, 2 games in a row.
Yeah. So, and he's wearing that sleeve. Something's going on. The 5-second call, of course, was a major problem for the team, and everybody talked about how terrible that was. And that was just a mental mistake. But being tired and not dialed in, because this game is so intense, this could happen. Now, that being said, Jamal Murray said afterwards, this isn't a funeral. It's the best 2 out of 3. Joker pointed out both teams were 4-4 against these guys in the season, which is true. They have won games in Oklahoma City. It's not some sort of death sentence.
Yep.
And there was supposed to be a Katy Perry concert here on Thursday, and I'm going to say tough luck being a Katy Perry fan.
Got to reschedule that, huh?
It's easier to reschedule Katy Perry than an NBA playoff game, so –
True that.
See your paper bag on Friday or next year.
Maybe the NBA will have the Nuggets Thunder at 10 a.m. on Thursday, so they can keep the Katy Perry concert.
So we keep the Katy Perry concert. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that would be NBA-like. So the reaction in the locker room wasn't all, depressing, whatever.
It shouldn't be.
I'm going to guess the Thunder. Now I haven't heard it, but I'm going to guess their reaction to the short rest, if it was asked at all, will be far different. So, Joker and Christian can say, oh, that didn't have anything to do with anything. And maybe it didn't for those guys, frankly. Maybe it didn't for those guys. But for the rest of the team, they were out of it, man. They couldn't start and they couldn't finish. And it was okay in between. But, Dan, let's face it, man. They had this game.
Yeah,
they
had
a lead.
They blew it. There's no other way to say it. They did. I said, DMAC, earlier, the Thunder should have won Game 3. In a game where Nikola Jokic goes 0 for 10 from 3, goes to overtime, they get the win. The Thunder blew that game.
Yeah.
They should have won that game.
They should have won Game 1.
They should have won Game 1, too.
This series could easily be over going in the Thunder direction.
Right, but the Nuggets should have won today's game.
Okay. All right, I see what you're saying. Except for the fact that when they ran out of gas relatively early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And the Thunder
Yeah, 6-point lead going into the fourth quarter.
I know,
at home.
But the Nuggets just don't have a bench. And so I hear what you're saying, but inevitably, unless you're going to play some of these guys off the bench, and listen, man.
Adelman said he was considering going deeper than an 8-man rotation, but I just said
he should have today. He should have used
right,
Jalen Pickett today. He should have used Strother more. He could have easily gone with more minutes from Peyton Watson, who was actually playing all right.
Yeah.
I think Adelman is kicking himself a little bit.
Yep.
And when he said short rest, he should have really had the instincts to – and you got a lead going into the fourth. Extend those minutes. Give the guys a break. And if you're trailing by a little bit, oh, well, but then you got yourself in a pickle. And then you got down. You blew the lead anyways with your guys, and there was no rest for the weary. And this is the result. So
yeah, I mean he had to bring Joker back in at the 9-minute and 53-second mark of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's a tough deal. Listen, the changes with Malone and Booth weren't made by accident. Okay, Bud Black's not meeting them. Said, "What happened to you guys?"
How about that?
Yeah, well. Nothing screams more Rockies than firing your coach in the middle of the Nuggets playoff series after you won a game.
And 2 days after the GM backed him. 2 days after the GM backed him.
Rockies know how to rock you up.
Like what?
This series, it's if we're gonna say anything, the Thunder could have already. This could have been the last game.
I know.
The year.
I get it. I'm seeing so much doom and gloom. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on the text line.
Yeah.
This series is over. It's 2-2.
Jamal Murray said
they've
it's not
got a
funeral,
chance.
Folks. They do have a chance.
I mean, this is insane. It's a
do have
tied
a chance.
series. Look, I get it. The Thunder, yes, the percentages of now that they won Game 4, the percentages of them winning this series have significantly gone up.
Yeah.
I get it. But this thing is far from over. You made a great point. They'll have the full rest coming up in a couple of days in OKC, where they have won multiple times this year.
Yeah.
So, look, I get it. This was a significant loss as far as the potential to win the series goes for the Denver Nuggets. But I've said it the whole series, DMAC. Anytime you've got Nikola Jokic, you've got a chance. And last thing.
Let me give you a stat real quick.
Okay.
Teams that have won Game 5 win the series 73 point something, like 75% of the time.
Okay.
So,
yeah, well, it's crucial. It's crucial. But I will say, and I said this earlier, I find it almost impossible to believe that Nikola Jokic is going to have 3 games in a row where he's shooting at that low of a percentage that he is. I just find that nearly impossible to believe. So that is one of my reasons for optimism going into Game 5. And also, every game we've seen Michael Porter Jr. do what he did today, and people are calling for him to be benched or, hey, let's really watch him closely, and if he's not hitting his shots early in the game, get him out of there. He's responded. So who knows?
You can't count him out either.
You can't.
And by the way, that's a moot point. He's taking a shot of some kind to get his shoulder better. He's wearing like a garbage bag on the shoulder.
He sets like a numbing shot, I guess, after Game 3.
I guess. And you don't have a choice but to start and play Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah,
so anybody out there that's saying like bench him and this, that, stop. We don't have any depth on this team.
Right.
It's a major problem for this team. And we saw another example of it today, unfortunately. And I don't think, I don't know, man. You could run the guys into the ground at this point, right? I guess. The day to have used more guys on your bench would have been today. Adelman even said, hey, listen, I was calling timeouts for no reason but to give my guys a rest. Like there was no other strategic reason to do it. So unless he just trusts Vlatko to run around or DeAndre to run around for a little bit, Pickett to get some more minutes. And if you're going to see any change, it's not going to be using Michael Porter Jr. not as a starter or even less time. I mean, what did he play, 34 minutes tonight? And Russell Westbrook was not good tonight either. He wasn't good. And turnovers oh, my God, Russell Westbrook, 6 turnovers, minus 20. Wasn't his night, man.
Yeah.
You needed Jalen Pickett tonight. You really did.
Yep.
But he doesn't trust Jalen Pickett, because they haven't used Jalen Pickett, and it's scary to use Jalen Pickett. I mean, I get it. I get all of it.
Totally. I mean, it's hard to bring guys in that have hardly played in this series and just these playoffs in general.
Yeah.
I understand Adelman's, hesitancy to bring some of these guys in off the bench. But, look, I'm with you, man. I don't know how they go more than 8 deep. They just don't have the depth on this team in order to do that. So it'll be really interesting to see what Adelman decides to do.
Hunter Tyson rolled his ankle, I guess, getting out of bed. He didn't
What?
play today. Yeah. You
Oh,
didn't
yeah?
even notice it.
I didn't even notice.
He wasn't even dressed.
I didn't even notice he wasn't dressed. Wow.
But
well,
these
he wasn't going to play anyways.
Well, no,
but.
I know. But these are guys that they did try to get time.
They did.
During the regular season.
Absolutely.
Hunter Tyson started some games this year.
Yeah.
Hunter Tyson played in high pressure quality minutes during the season, but nobody's comfortable using these guys at this point. I don't know if that changes for Game 5, but I think Adelman will probably have some thoughts about it tonight. I'm sure he will.
Yep. All right, D.
All right, Dan.
Great stuff, man. Appreciate you
Glad I could
hustling
run
up
here. Yeah, you got it. Yo,
I held the
joking.
mic cord for you and everything.
You're my guy.
All right, there he
we'll
goes. DMAC, after the Nuggets fall to the Thunder, 92-87 is your final. It's all tied up at 2 games apiece. Game number 5 will take place in Oklahoma. That game is 7:30 local, 8:30 Oklahoma Central Time. So we get the late game coming up on Tuesday. That's going to do it for the post-game show, everybody. For DMAC, for Jordan Berg back at the shop, I'm Dan Tanner. You've been listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5.